Welcome back. All right, we had some ugly hockey tonight. So with some ugly hockey, I thought, I'll go ahead and dig this hat out and make sure that I match, right? Because it looks silly if I didn't match. So lots of goals tonight. Not as many on the first board as there are on the second one. Wow. And honestly, who doesn't want to see a Battle of Alberta now? Because I've seen people like, I just want the Battle of Alberta. I don't know why. Yeah, now do you want the Battle of Alberta in the playoffs? All right. So we're going to start things off with Toronto and Montreal. And it kind of turns out the way I thought it would. That Montreal getting up for a game against the Toronto Maple Leafs is not really a problem for the Montreal Canadiens goaltender. So it's Shalgren versus Allen in this one. Matthews can't bury one early, and then he does. 36 seconds into the game, Austin Matthews has his 47th of the year from Bunting and Marner. And 3 minutes into the game, the shots are 4-0 Toronto. So it's all Toronto. Shalgren's not been tested to this point, and it looks like it might be kind of lopsided. So Engvall has a shot. There's a kick save there. Hall has a net drive that's saved. With 8 minutes left in the first period, the shots are 11-1 Toronto. There wasn't much for me to update. There really wasn't. It's just, puck's still in Montreal's zone. Yep. Engvall ends up hitting the post. Habs get zone time, not hitting the net. Savard then prevents a Nylander goal that would have made it 2-0 before the period's out. So you go to the second period with a 1-0. Bunting and Romanov were unfriendly. Leafs press at 1.5 minutes. Mikheyev's denied on a net drive. So again, this is all going Toronto's way until Savard scores from Dauphin Suzuki at 9:44. That was the seventh shot. The shots are even halfway through the period. Habs get a power play. There's a shorthanded 4-on-2. Lyubushkin has a shot that's held. That power play ends up being killed off. So a nice penalty kill by Toronto there. Suzuki tries a backhand on a break, that's saved. The Habs then press with 5 minutes left. Mikheyev has a rush chance, that's saved. 2:40 left, the Habs get a power play and they score on it. And it's Caulfield. Keep in mind, Caulfield not scoring goals at all until Marty St. Louis takes over, and now it doesn't seem to be a problem for him. Weidman and Suzuki with the assists at 18:09. It's 2-1 Montreal in a game where they've been outshot badly. And in the third period, it gets worse. The Leafs get a power play. That's killed. It had 3 shots on goal. In fact, 6.5 minutes into the third period, the shots are 9-0 Toronto. 9-0. Leafs go back to the power play. They score on this one. It's Nylander from Marner at 7 minutes and 33 seconds. So it ties up the game. And then the Leafs go right back to the power play. On that one, Marner's denied. And his poker face was gone on that one. His jaw drops. Like he cannot believe that Jake Allen saved that one. Then there's a shorthanded chance for Savard. That's denied. That power play's killed off. The Leafs do press after, and Allen is the only reason this game is tied. This game could have been 7-2, 8-2. Jake Allen playing great. Riley has a rush chance that's saved. And then at 17:32, as we're getting ready for some overtime, Byron scores. Paul Byron. And so that puts Montreal in the lead. The shot attempts in this game were more than 2-1 in favor of Toronto. And in the third, they had to be much worse than that. Like it was just it was all Toronto. However, Toronto's the one pulling the goalie with 1 minute and 35 seconds left. Tavares has a shot that's saved with 54 seconds left. The Leafs call a timeout. The empty net goal is scored by Dvorak, who had been unable to score earlier in the game. Byron and Savard with the assists at 19:37. So Montreal wins 4-2. And there you go. Montreal goes to 18-37-10. Toronto 40-19-5 on the season. Your 3 stars are Allen, Suzuki, and Byron. And with this result, Toronto is now a wild card team. Your shots 12-3 Toronto in the first, 15-12 Toronto in the second, 24-3 Toronto in the third. Final shots 51-18 for the Leafs. Power plays Toronto 1 for 3, Montreal 1 for 2. The hits 30-11 for Montreal. Shalgren saves 14 out of 17. Allen saves 49 out of 51. He could have been all 3 stars. It's like you watched Wedgwood the other night and went, big deal. Watch what I do. And went out there and had a fantastic game. All right, next up. So Florida really gave themselves quite the daunting task in this one. And they passed it with flying colors. So it's Bobrovsky versus Forsberg in this one. The early jumps for the Panthers. They had a 2-on-1. Zaitsev blocks that out. In fact, 6 minutes into the game, the shots are 6-0 Panthers. However, at 7:54, it's Formenton that opens the scoring from Del Zotto. Panthers try to answer. Zub shot blocks, the Sens rush. Batherson has a shot then that's blocked. Joseph with a net feed to Colin White. He was denied in front. Forsberg at 15 minutes already has 15 saves in the game. So it doesn't stay at that rate, but it doesn't fall that far from that rate. And then it's Zub, who scores at 15-26 from Norris and Batherson. So, with his first goal in 29 games, Artem Zub makes it 2-0 in favor of Ottawa. Tkachuk then has a break that draws a power play with 15.2 seconds left, and he almost buried it before the horn sounded. So it's 2-0 Ottawa after a first period where they got outshot by more than a 2-1 margin. So we're on to the second period. Norris has a chance to save. That power play's killed off. The Panthers press at 3 minutes, but it's Gambrell with his first goal in 32 games at 6 minutes and 47 seconds from Ennis. So it's 3-0 Ottawa. Panthers, though, they get a power play and they score on it. It's Duclair from Giroux and Reinhardt at 8:55. And then baffling. So the camera angle they showed, Hornquist tries to bounce the puck in off of Forsberg from behind the net. And it looked like Forsberg goes behind and grabs it with his glove against the post. And from the angle they had for Hockey Night in Canada, it looked like he'd held it there. But there was an angle that the NHL had that showed that the puck's inside the mesh of the glove, inside the net. So it counts. And it looked like a great glove save, but it counts. That's a goal for Hornquist at 9:57. The fans weren't happy. They said the ref sucks. I don't know how it's the ref's fault the puck went in the net, but okie dokie. Sens get a power play. That's killed off. There was a press by Ottawa with 4 minutes left. And honestly, I thought the second period was probably their best, even though they allowed 2 and they scored 1. Third period, Achari's denied. We get a power play for the Sens. It was a head check. I didn't think there was much there, though, so I don't think player safety gets involved. That's killed off. Then there's a net feed to Reinhardt that's defended. Panthers get a power play. It's killed off. Pressed by the Panthers with 8.5 minutes left. Hornquist and Ennis have a little chat. Not happy with one another. Eventually, punching happens. Panthers have a 3-on-2 that's defended. There's a delay of game, say the Panthers, but it's not called. Marchment and Tkachuk are chirping at each other on the bench to the point where Greg Millen had to keep his microphone off. He would say like a couple words and I'm like, yeah, I can't because they were yelling back and forth between the benches. And I would love to know what was being said between Marchment and Tkachuk and whether or not their dads did that when they were in the NHL as well to one another. If we ever had a Brian Marchment, Keith Tkachuk yelling match between the two benches, I'm guessing we did. So the goalie gets pulled and eventually Florida scores pretty quickly, actually. It's Barkov from Huberdeau and Giroux at 17:44. Then Giroux has a rush chance as they're looking for the lead that deflects out. So we end up going to overtime. Senators control early. Weegar loses the handle on one. The next Weegar chance was saved. Batherson was robbed. Reinhardt was denied. Formenton tips one wide. With 1:27 left, Stützle draws a power play. Senators call a timeout. Norris was denied during that, but they're not able to score. So Weegar comes out of the penalty box, likely very grateful that nothing happens there. And in the shootout, it's Barkov. He gets the winner. Florida, they were down 3-0. They come back and they win in the shootout 4-3. They go to 44, 14, and 6. Ottawa drops to 23-33. 23-35 and 6 is supposed to be that record because they had, wasn't it the same? Actually, it might not have. Let me just double check something here. Yeah, I'm right. So it's 23, 36, and 6. And I only say that because I remember that New Jersey and Ottawa had the exact same record coming to these games tonight. And then I look at them next to each other and I'm like, that's not right. Okay, so your 3 stars are Barkov, Forsberg, and Giroux. The shots in this one, all Florida through the first 3 periods. 19-8 in the first, 12-7 in the second, and 15-4 in the third. Both teams had 3 shots in the overtime. Final shots, 49-22 Florida. Power plays, the Panthers 1 for 2. Ottawa 0 for 4. The hits, 34-33 for Ottawa. Bobrovsky saves 19 out of 22. Forsberg saves 46 out of 49. So, not too shabby overall. Next up, New Jersey and Washington. So this one ends up being kind of interesting too, in that New Jersey shows again the talent's there. And I think next season, this is the kind of game they probably win. But this is the kind of game this year that they're losing. So it's Dawes versus Vanacek. They had a nice ceremony for Backstrom, having reached the 1,000 point mark. There's a net feed to Oshie early on that won't go. The Caps press at 2.5 minutes. Wilson has a near miss during that. McMichael with a net drive that saved. There's a near miss for Ovechkin on a Kuznetsov pass. Caps press again at 7 minutes, and Dawes is holding it together. The Devils then get a power play that's killed off, and they start generating some chances. In fact, by 11 minutes, the scoring chances in the game are 4 apiece. Both teams have had 4. 2:15 left. The Caps get a power play. Wilson fires one high from in close, and that power play is killed off. So it's scoreless after 1. And early in the second, Jack Hughes, he scores from Sharangovich and Mercer at 55 seconds. He wires it, bar down. So very nice goal there. Mercer almost adds another, but that one's saved by Vanacek. And then it's Wilson that ties it. So he missed the net a few times in the first. He hits the net in the second. Sherry and Carlson with the assists at 2:47. Then VC on a rush chance. He hits the outside of the net. We get McLeod versus Jensen. The Devils come out with a power play. That's killed off. And then Severson, he puts New Jersey into the lead again from Graves and Boquist at 7:17. Mercer with a net feed, that's cleared out. Ty Smith is denied, and then the Caps rush after that. Capitals press with 3 minutes left. With 54.4 seconds left, it is the Devils that get a power play. So that rolls over into the third, where the Caps do in fact finish off the kill. And then McMichael scores from Schultz and Carlson at 2:08, and that was during a delayed penalty, so it was a 6-on-5 goal. Ovi then has a shot that's blocked, and then Backstrom scores from Mantha at 6:56. So they gave out apples, apples being the term for assists. Backstrom gets a goal, so the ice has apples thrown all over it. And all I could think of were the Whitey Whackers from Simpsons. You guys know what I'm talking about. Good old Whitey Ford. That was my first thought, was all the apples coming down. I thought somebody's going to get hit in the head with an apple, and it's just going to be carnage. But anyways, the shots were only 2-2 at 8.5 minutes. So both shots for the Capitals have gone in the net. Capitals get a power play, and they score on it. Guess who? Ovechkin. That's who. He scores from Kuznetsov and Backstrom at 11:48. I didn't see apples come down when he got the assist. That's what he's... Apples and assists. That's when you're supposed to show the apples on the ace. It's poor apple usage. So with 1:20 left, the Devils get a timeout. And you know what? They score. Bratt scores during the 6-on-5 from Hughes and Heischer at 19:28. And then Heischer tries for the tie. He did. And the Devils end up coming up short. They lose 4-3. Washington goes to 37-20-10. New Jersey 23-37-5. 3 stars. All I can think in my head right now is the Whitey Ford bit with the pretzels. So Backstrom, McMichael, and Ovechkin, and of course Bart Simpson going out, yeah, Mom, you can call them Whitey Whackers. All right, so your shots in this one: 10-7 New Jersey in the first, 12-9 New Jersey in the second, 16-6 New Jersey in the third. Final shots 38-22 in favor of the Devils. Devils played really well, and again, this is a game they win next year. This year it's not happening. Power plays: New Jersey 0-2, Washington 1-2. The hits 25-20 for Washington. Nico Dawes saved 18 out of 22. Vanacek saves 35 out of 38. And yeah, so for the Washington Capitals, they needed this one tonight, and they got it. So they're up to 84 points on the season. All right, next up, Vancouver and Dallas. And I promised myself, I said, you know what? They're playing against each other, and whoever wins tonight, that's the jersey, that's the team whose jersey I'm going to wear for the review, and that's the jersey I'm going to wear for the team that's going to be playing when I go to see Dallas and Vancouver next month in Vancouver. So Vancouver it is. Dallas, they need this one, right? Vegas won. Now, of course, Dallas still has 4 games in hand, but now they're behind by a point again. So it's Demko versus Ottinger. The Rave jerseys there, and I know John Shorthouse wasn't a fan of them. I don't have a problem reading the numbers. There are some that I've had problems reading the numbers. The Philadelphia Flyers black jerseys are the one that really drives me crazy. The Dallas ones don't bother me as much, but I can understand if a play-by-play announcer is not a huge fan of them. So Besser with the net feed, that goes wide. The shots are 3-0 for the Canucks at 4 minutes. They came out very, very well. And then the momentum starts to shift. Horvat tries to pass on a turnover. There's a post for Harley. The Stars start taking control. 8 shots in a row for Dallas. Then Richardson has a rebound that's saved. Hunt blasts one wide. It was a screenshot. Radulov's denied. Demko up to 10 saves already in the game. Near miss for Hintz. That one was fired high. Ben misses on one. And then he gets denied on the other one. So Jamie Benn, a very good first period. The Stars had a decent first period. They did outshoot Vancouver, but it's scoreless. Second period. Lockwood to Miller was intercepted. So Lockwood's in the lineup tonight for Vancouver. Pettersson has a rush chance that's saved, but it is Dallas that opens the scoring, and it's Peterson. He scores from Ben at 5:42. Ottinger then holds on to a shot of Hughes's that was tipped in front of the net. Stars press with 9 minutes left. The Canucks then are pinning the Stars down and making all 5 players stay on the ice for a long while, and they iced it, but in the end, Dallas gets that dealt with. The Canucks then get a power play, and they score on it. So Pettersson ties the game from Hughes and Miller at 15:24. The Stars then get a power play. That leads to a rush chance for Horvat. He fires wide. That's killed off. Closing seconds, the Canucks press. So we're going into the third, tied at 1. Pettersson would score from Ekman-Larsson at 1:15. So very quickly, Pettersson with his 20th goal. He is also the first in his draft class to reach 200 points in his career. Stars get a power play. Aggressive penalty kill by the Vancouver Canucks. Clearly could see some weakness in that Dallas power play, and it worked. They did kill it off. Gurianov ended up missing the net on a good opportunity he had, but yeah, it was killed off. Canucks then have a power play. Radulov, as he goes to the box, vehemently disagrees. Radulov usually does disagree with the penalties when he gets them. That was killed off. Only one shot allowed by Dallas because they're down by a goal here, so they're still envisioning themselves getting back into this. 9:49 left. The Stars get a power play. There's a shorthanded 2-on-1 for the Canucks that did a nice job of killing off a lot of time in that power play. Demko robs Lindell. He didn't have a stick at this point either. And then Lindell hits the post on his next opportunities. The fans are just going crazy waiting for a puck to go in the net. And they were so loud, I was pretty sure it was going to end up going in. It doesn't. So, and the Lindell post was as the power play ended. And there was more pressure after that. Besser then had a rush chance out of the box that was saved. But what was more important with that rush is it allowed the penalty killers to get off the ice and change out. Goalie pulled in with 2 minutes left. 2 minutes left. That allows Horvat to hit the empty net at 18:54. Makes it 3-1. And then just to really punch things home, Miller gets his second point of the game and his first goal of the game from Shannon Pearson at 19:21. So Vancouver wins 4-1. They go to 32-26-9 on the season. For Dallas, they drop to 36-25-3. Vancouver beats Colorado, gets a point in Minnesota, beats Dallas. Now they're moving on to St. Louis, and the Blues, they've been having their struggles. So maybe this road trip's going to end up being a huge boost for the Canucks after a really disappointing homestand that looked like it had sunk their season. Your 3 stars in this are Pettersson, Demko, and Peterson. So the Pettersson-Peterson thing rears its head again. Your shots, 14-9 Dallas in the first, 13-7 Vancouver in the second, 15-9 Dallas in the third. Final shots, 36-31 for Dallas. Power plays, Vancouver 1 for 2, Dallas 0 for 3. The hits, 19-18 Vancouver. Demko saves 35 out of 36. Ottinger 27 out of 30. So again, for Dallas, they've got an important road trip coming up, and you know this game against Vancouver, they needed this. They didn't get it, so. Now they've got, I think it's back-to-back games against Anaheim coming up. And so we'll see how that goes for them. Fingers crossed. But again, for Vancouver, this pulls them a little bit closer to a playoff spot. And we'll see what they end up doing at the end of the year. That being said, I need to change boards. Okay, so I did not need a little board. I was thinking I might need a little board for this game. The one thing is you don't need any notes. But we'll start with this one that didn't need very many notes either. Carolina in against St. Louis. The score ends up being way uglier than it should. So in this one, it's Raanta versus Husso. I don't know. I don't know if this is just a throwaway. The problem is St. Louis has been struggling for the last few weeks, right? And it feels like they're really kind of free falling at this point. And while they didn't look like they were in any danger of missing the playoffs, and they shouldn't be, well. So they get an early power play that allows Natchez to score shorthanded from Slavin at 2:37. That one went in off of Falk. So the power play ends up getting no shots and allowing a shorthanded goal. Not a great start if you're St. Louis. There was a near miss for Aho on a rush, but the Blues do lead in shots 4-2 at 7 minutes. Raanta had a very good game. Blues get another power play. That was killed off, but they didn't allow a shorthanded goal on that one, so that's an improvement. The Canes press. Stahl fires one wide, but yeah, after one period, it's 1-0 for Carolina. Second period, early Kyrou chance is saved, and then there's a rush chance, and off the inside of the post, Jarvis gets the goal from Aho and Cole at 1:07. And then Pesce blasts one from Kotkaniemi at 3:16, and suddenly it's 3-0 in favor of Carolina. Canes aren't going to blow a 3-goal lead. They're one of the best defensive teams, if not the best defensive team in the league. Shots are 6-3 for Carolina at 6 minutes. The Blues get a power play. That's killed off. The Blues press at the half. They end up going back to the power play. Canes don't let them set it up. It ends up being a 4-on-4. And then Buchnevich at 13-12, he scores from Leddy and Thomas. So that puts St. Louis on the board. However, then on the power play, so that goal was a 4-on-4. On the Carolina power play, they score. It's Svechnikov from Aho and Teravainen at 14:38. So that restores the 3-goal lead for Carolina. Toropchenko nearly answers that, and St. Louis needed a goal before the period is out. They don't get it. So we're going into the third period with a 4-1 lead for Carolina. Daunting task for anybody, really. Early chances for the Blues. They would press at 2 minutes. The shots are 4-1 in their favor 5 minutes into the period. They end up getting a power play. They do score on it. At 6 minutes and 30 seconds, it's Buchnevich with his 21st goal of the season and his second goal of the game. Kyrou and Thomas with the assists. So that's a nice one. It's a screenshot. Ronta doesn't see it. The shots are 7-1 for the Blues at the half. Then there's a post for D'Angelo on a 3-on-1. O'Reilly has a wraparound attempt. That's saved. And since they're down by so much, they pulled the goalie early with 5.5 minutes left. That allows Svechnikov to get a goal from Trocheck and Necas at 15:05, so why not pull the goalie again? When they do that, Niederreiter gets his 20th of the year from Pesce and Fast at 15:57. And then with Husso back in the net, Cole scores from D'Angelo and Aho at 17:55. It is a 7-2 win for Carolina. They go to 43-15-7 on the season. For St. Louis, 35-20-9. And it's not going well for St. Louis right now. So your 3 stars in this one, all really long names. Svechnikov, Teravainen, and Buchnevich. The shots, 9 apiece in the first, 14-8 Carolina in the second, and 15-5 St. Louis in the third. Final shots, 32-28 in favor of the St. Louis Blues. Power plays, Carolina had one, and they scored on it. St. Louis was 1 for 5. The hits, 18 apiece. Ronta saves 30 out of 32. Husso saves 21 out of 26. So yeah, there you go. Carolina ends up winning this game by a lot. And I don't know. Again, usually I say, well, we'll see if it's a one-off. But St. Louis has been struggling for a while here. And I think it's time for some kind of a wake-up call. Maybe this game is it. But again, I think it's Monday they're playing Vancouver, right? So Vancouver's coming in 2-0-1 on their road trip. It's not going to be an easy game for them. Okay, next up. Columbus in against the Minnesota Wild. This was an interesting one in that Minnesota followed a script that they're quite good at. I don't know if this is going to work come playoff time. But hey, it was Merzlikins versus Fleury, and it didn't take very long for me to hear the term wildflower used because it's flower and he's playing on the Wild. So I was like, oh, wildflower. Oh, good. Good. That nickname's gonna really take off, even though he might just be there for the rest of the season. Early power play for Columbus. It's killed off, no shots. Just wildflower is usually a terminology I've heard directed towards women. Like usually, oh, she's a wildflower. It's just anyway. So the early power plays killed off, no shots for Columbus on that. Duhaime's denied on a rush. The shots are 3-1 for the Wild at 5 minutes. The Wild would end up getting a power play. They score on it. It's Kaprizov from Zuccarello and Eriksson Ek at 8:34. So it looks like, Minnesota's going to win this game and that they might really, put their foot down. But Robinson has net drive this defended. Werenski goes down on a hit from Middleton, and it didn't look good. Werenski ended up exiting. But, we go to the second period with Minnesota up 1-0. The Wild start with a full power play. There's a shorthanded net drive by Corrali. He ends up hitting Fleury. It wasn't intentional. There's no penalty out of it or anything. And yeah, the rest of the power plays killed off. The Wild press after. Elvis saves. And then Bean. He scores from Roslovic and Kukan at 8:16. We get 2 minutes of 4-on-4. And after that, we get a little bit of pushing, shoving, and punching. And we go back to 4-on-4 again. Voracek would score late in the period to give Columbus its first lead from Gavrikov and Laine at 18:55. So it's 2-1 Columbus after 2. Third period. Shots are 3-1 for the Wild at 2.5 minutes. The Wild press at 4 minutes. Kulikov with the net feed. Near miss on that one. There's 9 shots for Minnesota in the first 8 minutes. And then it dries up. It's just Columbus starts to lock things down. And they're not getting shots anymore. So the puck's staying at the Columbus end. There was a Kaprizov net feed near miss on that. Columbus has a 3-on-2. That's broken up. Gauntz nearly scores on a rush. 7:45 left. Columbus gets a power play. That was killed off. Really strong penalty kill by Minnesota. And it looked like Columbus was playing to kill the clock. That they were doing a good job, again, keeping them to the outside, not giving them shots. The goaltender gets pulled with 2.5 minutes left because that's where Minnesota seems to be its most comfortable, is without their goaltender. It's been this way all year. Kaprizov has a blast that deflects wide. With 1:11 left, they call a timeout. The Wild do. Whatever they talked about in that timeout, it works. Kaprizov scores from Brodin and Dumba mere seconds after that at 18:57, and that goal was through a screen. Eriksson Ek, I believe, was in front of the net on that one, providing the screen. So it's tied up at 2. We go to overtime. Both teams 10-4 when the game goes past 60 minutes. The Wild control. Columbus takes it from them. Laine has a chance that's saved. Spurgeon was denied the first time. He was not denied the second. He scores on a nice 2-on-1 with Fiala at 1:24. Minnesota wins in overtime 3-2. They go to 39-20-4. Columbus drops to 32-29-5. The second night in a row, they lose in extra time. And again, they had not lost in extra time on visiting ice all season until the last game against Winnipeg, and now they've done it in back-to-back games. Your 3 stars are Spurgeon, Kaprizov, and Fleury. The shots 14-8 Minnesota in the first, 13-9 Columbus in the second, 13-3 Minnesota in the third. But again, they had 9 shots in the first 8 minutes and only 5 the rest of the period, including that Kaprizov one. So Columbus did a good job, just they weren't putting enough pressure at the other end of the ice. In overtime, the shots are 2-1 Minnesota, including the one that matters. Final shots 38-25 for Minnesota. Power plays Columbus 0-2, Minnesota 1-2. The hits 28-22 for Minnesota. Merzlikins 35 saves on 38 shots. Fleury saves 23 out of 25. So pretty good game. Not too shabby. Every game had its own personality, seemingly on a whole other level tonight, comparatively speaking with others. All right. Oilers and Flames. This is just bonkers, and I couldn't write down everything that was going on in this because I would have needed an extra board. And it's just, let me just say, there's a lot of punching, there's a lot of dislike, there was a lot of sneers. I really want to see these teams meet each other in the playoffs. They split the season series. We need them in the playoffs against each other. So it's Koskinen versus Markstrom. One of them doesn't make it to the end of the game. Brassard would score at 32 seconds from Bouchard and Keith. The shots are 3-0 Oilers at 3 minutes, and I thought, well, usually when Calgary doesn't start well and they're behind early, usually it's a game they lose. Not tonight. Mangiapane's denied on a rush. Barry defends the next 2-on-1, which also had Mangiapane on it. McDavid can't bury one, and then he hits a crossbar. And then at 5:28, Lindholm scores from Tkachuk and Gaudreau, and that one was scored on a rush. I can't describe enough that there was so much going on and there were so many rush chances back and forth. And I was like, if I write down everything that's going on in this game, I'm going to need a whole board just for this game. So McDavid has a net drive. That's held. The Oilers get a power play. That was killed off. That was bonkers too. Brassard nearly gets another one. And then at 14-24, on what was only the 5th shot of the period for Calgary, Tanev scores from Coleman. And then on the 6th shot of the period, 15 seconds later, it's Backlund from Mangiapane and Toffoli. So for the Flames, when they score 3 or more goals, they're 36-5-2. So that tells you that this game's probably over. But it's not. So Backlund's denied as the Flames press, and then Draisaitl, before the period's out, he scores from Ryan Nugent-Hopkins and Kassian at 19:01. It was a fantastic pass by Nugent-Hopkins. With 17.6 seconds left, the Oilers go on to the power play. So that rolls over to the second period, where Draisaitl scores at 44 seconds from Hyman and Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. So that ties the game at 3. No more lead for the Calgary Flames. Great pass, great goal. McDavid then has a net feed that won't go. And again, I'm looking at this and thinking, well, with this momentum, the Oilers, it looks like they could run away with this. But Shillington scores from Gaudreau and Tanev at 3:07. So now the Flames are back in the lead. But then the Oilers get a power play and they score on it. It's Nugent-Hopkins from McDavid and Draisaitl at 3:52. So the power play, or the lead lasts 45 seconds. Tkachuk would then answer a little over a minute later from Gaudreau and Tanev, so at 5:06. And that's when Mike Smith goes in the net. It didn't get appreciably better. At 7:39, Tkachuk scores from Gaudreau and Hanifin. So the Oilers end up with a power play. They then had a minute and 57 seconds of a 5-on-3. Well, you can't give them that. So with the 5-on-3 for that long, they're going to score, and they do. It's Draisaitl with the hat trick from McDavid and Ryan Nugent-Hopkins at 9:18. Sadly, no apples. So hat trick, and for anybody who used just the timestamp to get to this game, you have no idea what I'm talking about. But apples. So, anyways, Draisaitl gets the hat trick there, so there's hats all over the ice because there are a lot of Oiler fans that make the trip. So this game was a lot to a lot at this point. it's 6-5, and at this stage I'm like, do I keep writing notes? What do I do? Like this, the goals tell the whole story. The notes, I don't know what they add to it. So there was a shorthanded chance for Mangiapane that's defended. They did kill off the 5-on-4 after the 5-on-3. The Flames then get a power play. Toffoli hits both posts and it goes out. And I don't. You could do that at practice. I don't know that you could actually hit that. I honestly, I don't think there's any way that I could intentionally hit both posts and out. Maybe I'll try it at some point. But yeah, so that's killed off. Then there's a power play for the Flames. It's killed off again. Last minute, there's a press by the Flames, and they start the third period with a full power play. So that's killed off. Puljujarvi's then robbed on a 2-on-1, and then Lindholm. Yeah, he makes it 7-5 from Tkachuk and Gaudreau at 2:55. And yes, this magnet here is different than the magnets I'm using here. I only have 6 of these. Normally, that's not a problem. So Gaudreau has a chance that's held, and then Backlund. This is a different kind of magnet than this one. He scores from Toffoli and Hanifin at 6:01. On the next play, Smith makes the save, and he gets the Bronx cheer. So I can't say I blame the fans on that one. I probably would have been doing the same thing if I was there. Things get punchy after a save by Smith because Tkachuk he was just digging at that puck. And obviously Tkachuk and Smith know each other. They were teammates. And you could see some words exchanged between the two. And again, I want to see them against each other in the playoffs. I don't want this to be the last time they play each other until October. They won't hate as much by then. The Flames get a power play. It's killed off. But then Dubé adds the 9th goal for the Flames from Backlund at 14:23. Mercifully, that's the end of the scoring. Your final score is 9-5, which is a song by Dolly Parton, and it's the score of this game. Flames go to 40-17-8 with the win. The Oilers 36-25-5. The problem the Oilers have now is that they're losing ground on a team they're chasing. Plus, Vegas, if Vegas can't qualify for a wild card spot, if Dallas ends up pushing them out, they could then look at third spot, and the Oilers could be in a position where either they're third in the division or they've missed the playoffs. So your 3 stars in this one are Gaudreau, Tkachuk, and Backlund. Yep, used a different marker, don't care. Shots are 18-9 Edmonton in the first, 13-9 Calgary in the second, 16-4 Calgary in the third. Final shots are 38-31. So 14 out of 69 shots went in the net. So save percentage is not fantastic. Power plays, Edmonton had one, 3 for 5. Calgary did not. They were 0 for 4. If the power play numbers had been different, this score would have been obnoxiously in favor of the Calgary Flames, and there'd be a no mercy magnet up there. Your hits 28-21 in favor of Calgary. Koskinen saves 7 out of 12, and Koskinen's had a tough time keeping the puck out of the net lately. Smith goes in and saves 22 out of 26. These are not the numbers you want to see if you're an Oilers fan, or if you're in the Oilers management after the trade deadline, because they don't have anything else unless they call up Skinner, right? Markstrom saves 26 out of 31. It was a rough night for Markstrom too. And again, a lot of these goals were really good goals, so I don't know how much of it's on the goaltenders, but their numbers take a beating in this game. All right. Just bonkers. I'm so glad I reviewed the early games already. I'm so glad that 15 minutes is not tacked onto this video, or it could an hour. All right, next up. LA and Seattle. So we get into the 7:30 starts, and honestly, these games weren't really left in any kind of drama. There wasn't really any tension in this. So it's Grubauer versus Peterson. The shots were only 1 apiece at 4 minutes. So I like Seattle's strategy. Earlier in the season, stuff was happening in their games, and they were losing a lot, so they've decided not to let stuff happen, and it seems to keep them in games. And I'm not even halfway kidding. Like, They had won, 3 out of 4 coming into this one, so it works for them, right? Limiting opportunities, just basically make it a chess match. You have a much better opportunity. Arvidsson has a net chance, that's saved. They're low chance game at this point. The Kings have a 2-on-1. Pouliot defends on that, so Pouliot on the ice for Seattle there. Velarde opens the scoring from Mata and Kupari at 15:05. I like Gabe Velarde. I hope this run now with the Kings is the last time that he's going to be brought up to the NHL and he stays at the NHL level. Kaliev has a net drive, that won't go. Alexiak has a blast that's saved and held, and Velarde nearly adds another before the period's out. So, second period with the score 1-0. Iafallo blasts one wide. He's been struggling to hit the net lately, so he does get an assist on the next goal. Kopitar at 4 minutes and 17 seconds. Fantastic deke by Kopitar. Iafallo and Kempe with the assists, and the Kings are controlling the game until Sprong scores from Susi at 6:29. So again, Sprong on the board with a goal. Good news for Seattle that he's got 2 goals already with Seattle. Seattle presses at 9.5 minutes, and halfway through the period, they lead in the shots, 5-3. Susi then had a chance that's saved. The Kings would rush after that. Seattle gets a power play. They do not score on it, and then the LA Kings re-establish their 2-goal lead. It is Spence with his first NHL goal from Kaliev and Lazat at 15:47, and Arvidsson nearly adds another for the LA Kings. 2:05 left. The Kings get a power play. That was killed off, and then Larsson's out of the box with only 5 seconds left. He almost got a goal there. He was denied. If that had gone in, whole complexion of this game changes. So third period, early press by the Kings. Byfield hits McCann. Seattle took issue with that. I didn't think it was a dirty hit per se. It was one of those ones that I guess looks bad if you're the other team. But yeah, what ends up happening is that then there's a bit of a kerfuffle that breaks out, and you end up with a 4-on-4 coming out of that. The Kings would shortly after that get a power play. They score on it. It's Dursey from Kopitar at 3:35. And yeah, so that makes it 4-1. So I'm more able to watch this and start working on finishing up my boards. So the Kings or Seattle presses with 4 minutes left. Eventually, Seattle does get on the board, but just with 4 seconds left. It's Geeky from Borgen that ends up making the final score 4-2. A little more respectable, I guess. Seattle drops to 20, 39, and 6 with the loss. LA is 36, 22, and 9 with the win. 3 stars are Spence, Kopitar, and Velarde. These teams meet each other again in LA on Monday. So this is one of those I believe it's one of those scheduling changes that came out of the shutdown in December and rescheduling everything. I think this is one of those things. So your shots are 10-5 LA in the first, 11-10 LA in the second, 10-6 Seattle in the third. Final shots 27-25 for the Kings. Power plays Seattle 0-1, LA 1-2. Hits 36-27 for Seattle. Grubauer 23 saves on 27 shots. Peterson saves 23 out of 25. And again, not really a lot of tension in this one in general. I knew once the second was done, I was like, yeah, LA's winning this. I didn't really have any doubt on that one. All right, next up, Anaheim in against San Jose. So it was Dostal versus Reimer. The Ducks get a power play. That's killed off early on. The shots are 5-1 for the Ducks at 8 minutes. They came out and played very, very well. And again, it's a matter of they're not getting the goal. Peterson's playing pretty well. He doesn't end up getting into the 3 stars, or not Peterson. Reimer. Reimer gets into the 3 stars. Of course, Peterson's not in the 3 stars of this game. Wrong California team. But Reimer does get into the 3 stars of this. So Leonard has a rush chance this block. The Ducks get a second power play. There's a near miss for Mayhew. It's killed off. Sharks press with 5.5 minutes left, and eventually they score. It's Vlasic, who's all of a sudden heating up scoring-wise. I think this is the second game in a row he's had a goal, or close to that. Merkley with the assist, and Reedy at 14:48. They traded the other Merkley, so this is the only Merkley they have left. Good. Too many Merkleys. So, 1-0. The Ducks then have a 2-on-1 that's broken up. It's 1-0 San Jose after the first. Second period, at 1:41 is Timo Meier scoring from Barabanov. That was the 7th shot for San Jose in the game and only the first shot of the second period. So 2-0 San Jose, even though they're being outshot at this point. I think it was 12-7 overall. Sharks have a 3-on-2 that's defended. Then there was a pretty good tilt between Carrick and Gadjevich. Sharks get a power play. Benino has a chance that deflects wide. That's killed off. Ducks then get their own power play. It's killed off as well. Terry has a chance that just drills Reimer in the mask. I think it was on the forehead. Reimer was down on the ice, and so the referee immediately blows the whistle. Completely agree. Reimer would get up and finish, but yeah, that just shows how much stronger and how much better goalie masks are now than they were back when I started watching hockey. If that hits somebody that hard in the 80s, there's no way that goalie finishes the game. Sharks get a power play. It's killed off. We go to the third period with it 2-0. The Ducks do make it interesting. At 105, it's Mayhew from Simone. Simone's first point as a Duck since coming over from Pittsburgh. That was on a turnover as well by San Jose. Sharks then get a power play, and the Sharks score on it to restore the 2-goal lead. It's Meyer with his 30th of the year from Barabanov and Hurdle at 3:56. So Timo Meyer, just a great season he's had. Leonard then has a rush chance that's saved, and late in the game at 15:55, Meyer gets the hat trick goal from Hurdle and Burns. So that makes it 4-1. Not really any doubt at this point, right? Things get kind of scrappy. The penalty boxes fill up because these guys don't like each other. There's two California teams. That always happens. Ducks close out the game on a power play. So your final score is 4-1 for San Jose. They go to 29, 28, and 8. I think they said this is the first win San Jose's had in 6 against the Ducks. The Ducks dropped to 27, 29, and 11. And again, what they did at the deadline, it looks like this is basically the plan for the Ducks. Like, yeah, we're mathematically in the playoffs, but we've sold at the deadline. So the 3 stars are Meyer, Barabanov, and Reimer. Your shots, 8-6 Anaheim in the first, 12-8 Anaheim in the second, 10-8 San Jose in the third. Final shots, 28-24 for the Ducks. Power plays, Anaheim 0 for 4, San Jose 1 for 4. Hits, 18-12 San Jose. Not an overly physical game. Dostal saves 20 out of 24. Reimer saves 27 out of 28. So entertaining game. But again, there wasn't really much tension, I thought, in either of the California-based games tonight, and they started later as well. So that does tend to happen at times. But let me know your thoughts regarding these games in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.